This is Protocol One. I'm James Neilson-Watt. If you are successful but not fulfilled, you're running industrial age software on space age hardware. It's time for an upgrade. Don't settle.
Hey, everybody. In this episode, I've got my good friend, Charles. Very excited to have you on. We haven't spoken in quite a while. We worked together for a while a few years ago. I know a lot's changed on my end. No doubt things have changed on your end. So I'm very excited to have you on and get connected again.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me.
So I'd love the audience to have some context on you. And I think through that, they'll see why I brought you on. You're a genius in what you do. You've got a very interesting backstory. Run us through that. Who's Charles? How did you get to where you are now?
Well, yeah, I live in the Napa Valley in Northern California with my wife and kids. I was just on my patio with my daughter and 80 degrees here today. Two main things that I do, and we can dig in wherever you want. But like I have a deal flow system and a deal flow network. And for a brief backstory straight into today, worked in the Silicon Valley for 15 years, was a director at a billion-dollar software company, left to get a taste of the entrepreneurial freedom I read about in books, started with a low-ticket productivity course as my first product, and being new to the online space, didn't yet have a list or connection. So started going to a lot of events and connecting with people online. Quickly found my new peer group of entrepreneurs already had my ideal clients in their communities. So started setting up presentations to other people's audiences, delivering a high value training and offering the deeper dive course. Started growing the email list, making sales, making a positive impact. So I thought, since this is working, what if I take my IT and systems background to simplify and systematize the entire deal flow, joint venture, and referral process, which I did. And eventually people wondered how I book 2 to 6 joint venture promotions per week for my offers to other people's communities. Basically, I was at a mastermind in Aspen and my phone's blowing up with texts and messenger messages, people knocking on the room door going, how do you line up so many of these deals? So decided to put together my first high ticket event called PureJV. And that's the market I've been serving ever since. That warm traffic system has evolved into a comprehensive deal flow system that leans into those warm traffic sources, JVs, referrals, speaking to other people's communities. It looks at your core offer and dials that to become an irresistible offer. It looks at your most profitable partners, communities, stages, referral partners, how to connect to those folks through warm channels, how to guide the conversations to land the deals operationally, how to execute the deals along with the high ticket sales process. We help dial that. I've had 19 clients who've added 1.25 to 32 million in additional revenue. 4 clients on stage with Tony Robbins, including last month, one that just got booked on Joe Rogan. And I have a deal flow network, which is a mastermind group called Flow. But more fun than that, my daughter turned 18 last week and the whole family went skydiving.
How was that?
It was awesome. It was my oldest daughter's idea. And I, of course, was on board. And then the kids peer pressured mom to get on board. And then I invited my nephew and then my brother. So we had a whole crew leaping out.
That's one of my what I would used to call fears was the skydiving. And then because I'm part of Tony Robbins' Platinum partnership, and one of the trips is an adventure trip. And on it, we did a whole lot of things. One of them in particular was bungee jumping, and it was like the Southern Hemisphere's largest bungee jump. And I was terrified, but I focused on who I was going to become and the experience and how I was going to feel after. And I visualized my kids, and I said, my kids can't have a dad who's afraid and says, oh, this is too hard, so I'm going to quit. So I just stepped off and I told my wife to tell the boys that, dad's going to be a superhero. And so when I sort of dove off like a superhero, and it was an amazing story for them. They were quite young at the time. And that was transformational for me. And so next on my list is skydiving. Something about it still gets me.
You mean the jumping out of a plane part?
Yeah, like I don't know, there's this thing of like, it's all going to fail and, I'm going to die. But I had a coach who had done thousands of jumps, and he was telling me, 1, if you're with a reputable company and, it's all good. 2, if the chute doesn't, like I said, what if I'm on somebody's back? Somebody's on my back, but they pass out. I can't reach the cord. Like, then what's going to happen? And he was like, dude, like you hit a certain altitude, it automatically pulls, and like all these things. I was like, oh, okay, And I'm kind of, but at the same time, there's people that professionally like jump off bridges, and you have to pull it, because if you don't, like, it's all over. And they're doing flips and things as they come off. I don't know if I can do that, but it's on my list.
Yeah, wow, that's wild. Last year for her birthday, we all went bungee jumping, which apparently isn't exactly legal. We figured that out on the path, but worked out just fine.
I think it's AJ Hackett, a Kiwi guy, was one of the first like pioneer a lot of bungee jumping and bungee jumping systems and things like that. It's big in New Zealand. Interestingly, same with jet boating. I believe that was invented on the lakes and rivers of Queenstown in New Zealand, was these jet boats, because they only have like a couple inches of water, and that's where they did it. So Kiwi ingenuity. Your story, you said you started, like, it's not like you started a company, right? You started low down. Is that correct? And worked your way up?
Yeah. So coming out of college with a business degree, I got a job and ascended through the whole kind of corporate world. But like for my own company, I knew I wanted to create a company, but I didn't know exactly what. And, I'd chat with different friends and colleagues about ideas, and we'd have meetings and stuff. But a catalyst in this was I had got, this is when I was in corporate, I got a call from my mom, and she had that serious tone in her voice. And I thought maybe one of the kids she adopted from Sierra Leone were having trouble in school, but it wasn't that. She'd been in a minor car accident the day before, and I thought she was pressing the brake but wasn't, and bumped into the car in front of her. And then that day she was physically reaching for a fork and kept missing it by 6 inches. Took her to the hospital, found she had 2 stage 4 brain tumors, and I could barely walk in the house to tell my family this, and we piled in the car and went to be with her, going into brain surgery that night. And went down and basically took care of her for the next year. She lived a year to the day from when I got that call, and it was like a bullhorn in my face about how temporary life is, and if there's an impact you want to make, or a positive difference, if there's a quality of life you want for you and your family, now is the only moment we ever have. So taking charge of that, I decided now's the time to actually leave corporate, start a company. I had this piece of wood made that says, I will, end of story, meaning I will figure it out no matter what. And so that was my mindset going into it. Because before that, I was like, oh, I could start this idea. I could go get a job here. Like, if you don't know where you're going, you're not going to get there. So you burn the boats and commit, which is what I did in the entrepreneur space. And my first product was a low ticket productivity course. So I did create a company, but I was new to business. Turns out a business degree from years ago isn't that helpful when you're starting a business. I was a domain expert at my topic, but I needed to learn how to run and build a business. And there were 2 key elements in that. Number one, I thankfully have a supportive wife. Some people's wives or spouses or significant others hold them back from pursuing things, which is a travesty. And then 2, my brain says, if something doesn't work, I will figure it out, where a lot of people may think of all the things that will go wrong. I just go, well, how would we solve those? That's my approach.
I love that. So there's this thing that I do with my boys. So I have two young boys, 7 and 5. And if they're feeling resistance towards doing something, we have this mantra that we say to ourselves, which is, if I can't, I must. And if I must, I will. And then we just do whatever we're going to do. So if it's like they're jumping into the pool and it's cold or whatever, if I can't, because I'll be like, I can't do it, it's cold. It's like, if I can't, and then they'll immediately say to me, I must. And I'm like, if I must, they're like, I will. And then they'll bang their chest and they'll just jump in. And so now they've become the kids that just kind of like do everything. And then the other kids are watching, like, how did you do this? Like, why are you doing this? Because I'm trying to raise them in a way of realizing that, you have a physical experience of the world, you have an emotional experience of it, and then you have like an intellectual experience of it. But you are none of those things. I did this really interesting exercise at a Tony Robbins event with Master Co. And he was talking about this concept. It's like, move your arm. And it's like, who moved your arm? It's like, well, I did. And you go, okay, well, did you exist before you moved your arm? It's like, well, yes, because I moved it. And you go, okay. So now, I feel angry. Okay, so you existed before you felt angry? It's like, well, yes. It's like, I thought this. So are you your thought, or did you have the thought? And this whole idea, it was a spiritual concept, and it really landed for me because it's like we are having a spiritual experience, and we have this glove of life, and we're being puppeteered via our spirit, because I am not my thoughts, I'm not my feelings, I'm not my body. And so the ability to first recognize that and then use it, I think, is so powerful. And you said that exactly the same thing. It's like, I will do it. I can do it. I will do it, because we have control over it. So for me, it's like, how do I have the feeling and go, thanks, but this is not necessary for me right now? I have the thought, and it's like, appreciate you, brain, but that's not what I'm going to be focused on. And then in my body, it's like, hey, thanks for that sensation. I know you're trying to help me, but right now I don't need this, because I am making the decisions. Whereas most of us, we don't ever get taught that. And so we think that we are our thoughts, our feelings, and it's valid. Like the number of people, my wife, she'll listen to this and get me afterwards, but she used to say to me, my left eye is twitching. And I was like, okay. But she's from a very superstitious background. She's Parsi, like Persian group from India, and they have a lot of superstitions because there's a lot of uncertainty in their cultural background. So left eye twitching means something, right eye twitching means something else. If you bite your tongue, it means this. And I'm like, how are you creating this meaning out of nothingness? But for them, it was very real. And she sort of dropped those things now since we've talked about them. But it was funny because it's like, so my body's doing this thing. So it means something is going to happen or whatever. And then I live my life with that frame. I am completely at the mercy of everything else but the things that I control, which, we can't be. You can't have success that way. You must see it with clients.
Well, yeah, and just anything in life, if only focus on what's in your control. It doesn't mean you can't observe and have thoughts and opinions about bigger things that are out of your control. But if you can't actively go do something about it, directly focus on what you can control. And it comes down to core fundamentals. I find if anything's ever getting out of whack in life, it's because a fundamental has been not observed. And these are the basics: getting a good night's sleep, eating healthy food, getting your workout in every day, spending time with your friends and family and people you love, because, and there's seasons for things. I'm not saying everything's always in balance like that, but when you are getting out of balance, take a look and you'll realize a fundamental has been not observed. And the fastest way to get everything back on track is just make sure those bases are covered. Or same in business, like what can I actually control right now versus what's out of my control right now. And it turns out we are diving so fast into a world where you can control an insane amount with AI tools and like Claude, Cowork, and OpenClaw, and all of these amazing things. It's like things that used to take weeks, you can do in minutes. So focusing on what you can control and then harnessing the power of the tools around you. Now you don't necessarily have to know how to do certain things. You just need to know what outcome you want. And it's wild how fast you can get it. I'll just share an example from earlier today. Our branding team made a whole new website for me, and we wanted to add a media page, which was out of scope for the original Charles Byrd site. And so they gave us a quote to build this media page. And I messaged my team member, Leslie. I'm like, watch this. Use Claude Cowork to look up the last 10 years of podcasts, build an HTML page, match it to my brand, had the thing. I mean, I would tweak it a bit, but it had it built in 4 minutes. Yeah. So like we have this wild amount of power and resource that's never been available in history. So like looking at what your goals, what's driving you, what you want to accomplish, not focusing on the things outside of your domain of control, keeping those fundamentals always well taken care of so you can thrive, and then harness the power of these insane toys that we have at our disposal.
Yeah, really quickly to circle back, you made a good point. Things in the fundamentals being out of whack is what definitely messes with most people. Like we talk about this with the 6 vectors, and the idea is that you're trying to fix your relationship, but your health, your physical health is so poor that you're always going to be tired. You're going to have low libido, low, sensitivity to everything, right? Or maybe your psychology's out. So you're applying meaning to things that your spouse does that is disruptive to your ability to see them as a loving person. So of course you can't fix your relationship. And so we put this time and effort into the top things like my relationship, my mission, my kids, my work. And 9 times out of 10, your gap is not the thing you think it is. Like you're like, I can't figure this business thing out. It's like, okay, well, what does your exercise look like? How's your diet? And it's like, what do you mean? And it took me so long to kind of get this, but I'm starting to get it. I say I'm starting to because I realize the more you start to know, the more you realize you don't know. And so you go from like knowing a little bit and thinking you know heaps to knowing a lot and going, I don't know nothing. And so as I say that, I'm like, I'm starting to get it, right? Is that my ability to succeed in anything in the higher vectors comes down to the strength of my lower ones. If my psychology's off, and you will have experienced this, doesn't matter how good the business is, the opportunity is, the relationship is. If my psychology's off, I can't show up as who I need to be. I can't make decisions from the frame that's going to get me the result. And so I regress or I make poor decisions or whatever. Same thing with physiology. That principally, like if I'm sick and unwell, I can't have the psychology necessary to tackle the problem, to be the person I need to be that would command the result that I'm trying to command. Because I can't lead myself, I can't lead my family. And so it's so important that we look at all those things and be more broad to the problem. And ironically, I think AI is exceptionally powerful with this, and people are missing the point. Like I had a conversation yesterday with somebody, and I was explaining to them, because they were looking at building some AI automation stuff, and they were talking about agents. And I was like, oh no, they're already going down the wrong path, because this is not a sophisticated person. This is a person who's heard something and says, I need to build an AI agent to do these things. And I know what they're envisioning. It's like this AI employee that like does my books for me or like whatever. And I'm like, yes, but let's reframe this for a minute. You want to operate from an AI-centric position. If you were starting from scratch, would you hire a person? No, you'd have AI do stuff. So operate from that frame, but then understand that you already have an organization that needs to survive. Peel the layers of the onion from the ground up, replacing SOPs with automations that may include some AI. Because I think too many people are, like I saw somebody build like as an Instagram video, they created like this office environment for their OpenClaw agents. And when he told them to go and have a meeting, the animated characters moved to the meeting room and then sat down and had a meeting. And I'm like, that's cool. Completely pointless in terms like it's just adding lag, compute power. Like that probably costs, I don't know, $1,000 in tokens to just do that. Like it's like, why? And it's because people have got stuff to sell, and when anything's new, people are just making things, but you've got to see through all that crap and go like, what does this mean to me with what I'm currently doing? And when I started doing that, I have an OpenClaw that does some stuff, but I'm not expecting it to magically change my life. I'm still leading the situation. And I think that the example would be like when calculators came around. There were people that were completely anti. You need to know how to do the math like properly. It's going to end the world. We're going to lose jobs, because we had people counting money or counting things. Like think about like the money counting machine replaced in a bank probably like 3 people whose job it was to count money. Overnight, gone. Whale oil business, gone when electricity came. So this is not new. I just think that it's more for the regular person. But just because I have a scientific calculator that I remember from the early 2000s and I can do a bunch of stuff on it, doesn't mean that I can get any value from it more than just using a regular one. And so my advice to anyone listening is think about how you can incorporate AI, but it's not going to fix a bad offer. It's not going to fix a bad business. It's a tool, and it makes it easier to compress the time to execution. But you can make so much bullshit with AI that is not productive, but you feel like I made all these things, and it's like, it's not really actually doing anything for the progression of your business, because you're not focused on the right problems to solve. You know what I mean? How have you seen that in your business? Because obviously somebody just said to you, I'm going to make you a media page. And when you were telling the story, I was like, I know where this is going. Because we did the same thing. I just went into Lovable or whatever. I'm like, I want this. And then it made it, and it's done, and it cost me nothing. And I have a team member who's unskilled, but became skilled using AI and learning stuff, who now runs these things for me. And I'm like, gosh, I don't have to hire a developer. I don't have to hire a creative person, but I got to know what to build. So my question to you is, with what you're seeing going on, where does it land with you? I see this interesting point of jobs dying, but heaps of new opportunity being presented. I see a lot of people not realizing that their job is already dying. They just haven't fully closed yet, but they're on their way. And I'm also seeing this balancing of like, AI is not actually going to control us and take things away, because it still has to be at the direction of humans because it's making for humans. So when I say make a website, it's going to hallucinate unless I give it context, which means that at its core, it is a tool for taking an idea and making it reality. Because if my idea is crap, no one's going to buy it just because it looks pretty and was made by AI. My business is not going to be fixed just because I said, AI, do some stuff. I still need to be, it's at my direction. You know what I mean?
For sure. Yeah. The way we're going about it in my business is like even the kind of work you and I did a few years ago, that was all done one-on-one, session by session, building and training and so forth. And so with how these tools work, now we do a lot deeper intake up front, like kind of deep interviews about the business, ideal clients, like the whole dynamic. Then like from there, we used to have like the thing around the offer, which you mentioned. We would have people watch a video, fill out a template, and then we'd get on with them live to like tighten that up. And now from that deep intake, content can be run through our tools to craft an amazing draft of the offer using our protocol and framework up front, so that by the time they are meeting with, in this case, Bill, my business partner, on that, it's an amazing offer to start with. And he's just like tweaking and refining, but it was built on the IP of what goes into the strong offer. So to your point, you have to know what you want and have a framework for it. And AI can help with those things. But even another part of the process, and I'm referencing this because you and I did this together, but it's training on how to guide conversations into one or more winning outcomes. And so I train people one-on-one on that. But like last week, one of my new clients has a system where people can, it was built for practicing sales calls. We're adapting that process to give people a chance to rehearse the kind of calls that I train them on. So we had a very strong way of going about that. We trained AI to do it so that AI can support and help our clients with it. So to your point, you need a strong framework that's going to deliver a successful outcome. And then as you SOP that and AIify these things and then start streamlining workflows, you can get some significant leverage to the point where when you're on calls with people, obviously a lot of these are recorded through Zoom or other tools, they're transcribed. You can get this super tight summary of the conversation, have that fed into the notes, have it run against, like, let's say you had an initial call with someone and maybe they're a fit to progress into your sales process. I have prompts that the notes are run through that look at like an overview of their offer and market and best ways to utilize the deal flow system. Their objections would be how to overcome those objections. And so all of that's in my notes before I ever even get on the call with them. So it's using AI to give you a significant advantage to just work in a streamlined way. And then using it, I'll give you something that's has been extraordinarily valuable. So for the last 6 years of calls, I created a RAG database out of that. So my Claude and my OpenClaw have access to that information, meaning if I pop your name in there, it would have context to every conversation we've ever had. So if I ask a question around anything like what were our last touch points or remind me this person's product and offer, like you just get this clean summary without having to dig around or look because it knows our system, it knows our process, it knows where all of our client customer journeys, where everyone is in the process. It's highly empowering. It's pretty damn exciting.
It's the irony with it, if you sit back and you think about it, is we could have done all of this without AI. You just would have had to have had a team, an army of people doing things, and that would have blown the cost up. And therefore you would have to charge more to make the same margin, etc. And so these things functionally already existed, but it required you to have really documented processes, people that are doing their jobs. Now you got to manage people, and people love to not do their jobs. And so what AI has really done is it said, hey, all of those horribly inefficient people on your team, because you can never get maximum productivity out of people, they now don't have to do the job anymore. A system that doesn't make mistakes, that doesn't get tired, doesn't get sick, and can do it extremely quickly, can come along and do that thing. And I think that when we think about AI as just technology, that's what technology's always been for. Like if you think about a supermarket, the rising costs of employing people and the difficulties of managing people has meant that instead of paying money to people, supermarket chains paid money to engineers to build self-checkout. And now you have one person watching 10 self-checkout machines. And that was when that first came out, we were like, this is crazy. Well, I'm having to check my own food out, like, whatever. And now I don't go to the place where there's a human because it's so much more convenient to just check it out myself. So there is always a human kickback because people don't like to change. And then there is an understanding and an acceptance of like, this is actually better. And then we just move on with our lives. And now there's a line in the sand where we don't even think about the fact that we used to do that. Like I worked at a video store and we had to clean the CDs, the DVDs. And we had just phased out like VHS and now we got DVDs and they'd come back scratched. And all night I'm putting DVDs into this machine to like fix them. And now they don't even exist and we have Netflix. And so my job was being made redundant. Yeah, I adapted. This is what happens all the time. It's just happening faster than before. And it's hitting a lot of people where they thought they were safe, because I think a lot of people thought that the first jobs to go would be the stuff that we don't want to do. But the reality is that that's not how it works. The first things that go are the stuff that we pay a lot of money for. And so engineers doing calculations or coders is a lot of money. Creative teams are a lot of money. Marketing, like analysts, are a lot of money. Sales managers are a lot of money. CFOs are a lot of money. So we're going to invest in that to save us money, because that's just how economies works. Yeah, it's really weird, because I'm talking to people like yourself, like we're doing lots of things, and then I'm talking to people who don't even use ChatGPT, and I'm like, this is crazy.
Well, yeah.
Do you still ride a horse to work? Like, what are you doing? And I think that's the scary thing for me, is how many people have no idea about what's going on. So they cannot be prepared for what's going to happen. So to them, it looks horrible and crazy. To us, we see the opportunity in it, but and this is ironically circling back to the vectors. Psychology is so important because your ability to frame something as an opportunity happening for you instead of something that's bad and happening to you is the difference between happiness and depression. It's the difference between anxiety and excitement. The difference between your fulfillment and completely unfulfilled and successful. It's interesting. We're doing a lot. Something interesting on our side is I don't know about you, but I have a problem, and my first thought is there must be a software for this, and then my second thought is I don't really want to pay for that. Can we just make a solution? And so we've built out so in the high ticket space, as you'll know, billing tracking can be difficult. Reconciling payment plans. There isn't really a platform that I've found that cleanly does like an accounts receivable and payment plan reconciliation to know where people are actually at and stuff. And so we built something that just integrates into everything we need, and it does all of that. And we just solved the problem. And I'm looking at this, when we did it, I'm looking at it and I'm going, wow, like this is like, we built in an LMS. What does it even stand for? It's like basically a learning management system, right? So instead of having a software which doesn't quite do what we want, I said, I really want this. I want AI to be tracking every client, and when they talk to it, it gets smarter about them. And I want it to ingest all of our content and coach people. And I said, why hasn't anybody built this? We're going to build it. And in a couple of weeks, we built this thing that now is going to integrate with our billing platform. And so now we have a full billing history per client, and we're going to automate outreach. And I'm like, oh my goodness, this is what AI is for, is solving the pain point that gets in the way of you achieving the outcome that you want. So I think the biggest skill that's going to matter, especially for young people, like I'm thinking about my kids. I'm thinking, I grew up without cell phones. I remember when texting came around, and now I'm thinking about my kids, and I'm telling them about, like, we go to, you may have had this experience. You're at a hotel, you're watching TV, there's a movie on, and then ads play. And my kids are like, why is this on? Turn it off. I'm like, oh, kids, this is called an advertisement. All of my movies had this constantly throughout. Like, they're used to having what they want, when they want. But with my kids, I'm focused on, they're doing math right now, but it like does not matter. There is no future where they are going to be doing math other than like counting the things in their house or something. Like it's not going to, even then I might have glasses and I just look at stuff and it knows what I'm thinking. And so it just counts the things for me and tells me the number. Like, I don't know, the future's going to be weird, but I'm getting them to do math because it's not about the math. It's about how to think. And I think the biggest difference between people in the future who are going to be successful and those are not are going to come down to two things. Number one is their ability to deal with people, which we'll talk about in a minute with your JV stuff, is people, networking, connection with people. Number two is how to conceptualize and ideate and know what you're going after. Because the difference between you and me and some person on the street trying to make something, like how you made your media kit, is our ability to conceptualize what we want and then instruct the thing to make it. Like I'm building a homeschooling platform. I talk about it a lot on the show. We're raising a bunch of money for it. The reason it's good is because I know the outcome. Whereas someone else is like, so a friend told me the other day, they have a friend they're in like a cabinet business or something, and they got AI to make images to promote their cabinets or whatever. And they were like, AI sucks. And my friend was like, it probably doesn't. What are you trying to do? And they said, I put my pictures in there and I tell it, make this look good. And she's like, that's what you're prompting? Make this look good? And so, of course, it's going to come out shit. And so she gave her like a whole thing of like how to prompt to get a prompt to then get it to make the thing you want. And now, of course, it's working brilliantly. That, for me, is that gap of like, I don't know what to say because I don't know how to think to get the outcome. Because knowing how does not matter. You said this earlier. Knowing how doesn't matter anymore. Like AI is going to figure it out. I go to AI and I'm like, this is what I want. Let's talk about how we're going to do it. But I've got to know with clarity what I want, and then I've got to know how to connect people to the dream to make the thing happen.
Yeah. Well, by the way, this accounts receivable against payment plan thing, my team and I were talking about that yesterday. So I want that system you just made.
Yeah. I'll message you after. We'll chat about it. Yeah.
And yeah, that's exactly it. And I think even industry people running businesses, I probably like you, I talked to a ton of them, and I would say the people with their sleeves rolled up and digging in are definitely less than 10. I did a presentation today to a group of entrepreneurs all around partnerships and referrals and all of that. And then I was like, hey, the most important thing I will tell you today is to go download Claude and start using Cowork. That's more important than anything I just told you, because it's baffling how many people aren't using it yet because they're unaware of how transformative it actually is. And then I'm like, with these full-on controlled desktop automations and so forth, I think people that aren't following tech and enjoy being massively empowered, they're not even aware that this stuff is happening. Old paradigms are all about to disintegrate, and pricing will crumble for so many things because, like that silly website example, why would I pay a developer to go make that page when I can go to Lovable or other tools to have it instantly for nothing? So it will just drive the cost of everything down. It will certainly have a massive impact on jobs, but it also creates all of these other opportunities. In any of the people that are affected from a job perspective, they should be playing with these tools too to go start whatever they want. Because now
the interesting thing is like people talk about what are we gonna, like Elon Musk has said everything physical will be automated by an AI powered robot. Your plumber will be robot. It'll be your robot that you bought for 10 grand on a payment plan for $100 a month, or you rented a robot. So you're like, hey Dave, the sink's broken, and he goes and fixes it. Like that is coming in the next 10 years. Your doctor will be your robot at home. You downloaded the doctor skill, and your plumber cleans his hands and then he does the surgery on your foot. Like this is what's coming, personal, everything. And I think there's this interesting dynamic because we talk about like wealth inequality, etc. I don't think people, in my view, I'm going to get butchered in the comments. My view is that people don't understand that if you're looking at money as the measure, you are so far from reality. Like the Egyptian pharaohs didn't have the ability to access all human knowledge on a device in their pocket. Movies, songs. Me, growing up in the 90s, didn't get all the movies I wanted and all the songs I wanted on my phone. Like I remember when my phone or a friend's phone had television on it. And we were like watching stupid things like, oh, this is amazing, right? Or we'd watch a pixelated video on our phone. And now I have high definition 4K, anything I want. And so whether my financial situation has changed, my experience of life has changed, to such that if I compare to a different time period, I am beyond wealthy with what I have access to. And so the concept's going to have to change because it's going to get weird. It's going to be, I have personal robots that carry me everywhere and give me everything that I want all the time and everything's amazing, but he has more coin than I do. It's like, what do you mean? And so for me, you said it right. The cost of everything's going to go so low that we're going to have access to things in our lifetime that we couldn't possibly have dreamed of affording 20 years ago, that unless our psychology and culture shifts from this comparison of coin to the fact that there's this equalizing going on because of technology, we're going to be perpetually depressed. Because the truth is, that poor homeless dude has got a cell phone. He's got a blanket. He's got a tent. He's got things that no homeless person ever had. Now, I'm not saying, that's good. What I'm saying is that contextually, we all forget the privilege we've got. Like my internet didn't work because I have 3 feet of concrete on my roof and my internet's terrible. And so I got a Starlink and I ran a cable and now I've got high-speed internet in the middle of, some small town in Japan from the sky. You know what I mean? Like anyway, it's going to get really weird. You talked about Claude Cowork. How are you using that? Because I'm seeing like OpenClaw and stuff, and I don't think that most of these things matter as much as people think. Like it's a nice idea and it's going to be something in the future. But my perspective is a lot of that stuff, if you just thought about it for 5 minutes, you can go and build it already. And the big difference I see with, say, OpenClaw is I can tell it, hey, I want this outcome. Here's your permissions. Go and do this thing. And then it goes and does it. Like that's cool. But outside of that, like if I'm fixing a problem in my business, I'm not like, hey, go do whatever you want. I'm going, what would have to happen? And then I might have a variety of tools executing on that, from Lovable to Claude to something else, but I'm piecing those things together strategically. And so I see the vision of OpenClaw where it can go and do things, but that specifically I think is a bit more hype because you've got Manus that's now got it now. Meta's got Manus and you've got it on your desktop. You got the Perplexity computer thing. You've got, Cowork. So it's an interesting time, but how are you using it? Give me some use cases.
Yeah. So there's this second I discovered it, I've used it all day. And between building 2 OpenClaw machines and playing with Claude Cowork, I'm working till like 11:30 at night, just nerding out, building things. Like it's wildly inspiring. So I don't know if you are even aware of this because this update came out like 4 days ago, but with Claude, part of the draw to OpenClaw is the fact it's like a fully, depending on how you set it up, a fully autonomous system. I've got a Mac Mini running it here for the business. I have a iMac running it for personal. So 2 separate machines for different purposes. And what's amazing is you can set them up to do things, monitor things, give reports, this and that. The breakthrough that happened 4 days ago with Claude Cowork, 2 things. One, they added projects so that you can create context around anything else you're putting in there. So if you had something around sales and clients and SOPs or whatever the department, now it can have full domain knowledge around it. You also get that benefit from the way I described turning your whole call history into a RAG database. But what they enabled a couple days ago, 4 days ago, is the ability for Claude to fully control an entire computer. So I will give you an example of a test I did last night. So I have an email tool called Spark that gives you basically close to a real-time transcription from a call. So I just put this in Claude. I'm like, I'm going to spout off a workflow. So I'm like, go to this app, go to the transcript section, copy the transcript, assess it against, give me a summary of the meeting, key outcomes, things that we're going to AI-ify within the company. Take that processed info, put it in the Evernote note that I was taking notes in on that call. So it has to launch Evernote, go find that note, paste it in, and then I had it, and this is all in one command. Then I said, go copy a share link to that Evernote note, launch iMessage and text me it. And it did it on its first try. So what's wild about that, you could create these very complex multi-app workflows that some things may be API integrated, but the Evernote and the Spark stuff are not. That's just natively controlling the Mac, like clicking buttons and navigating. And then you can set those things on schedules. So let's say as I go through my day and I'm on a 10 meeting day, like I am today, that maybe every hour it goes and triggers the thing. It goes and copies the notes, pastes it here, puts the summary, updates this person, does a Slack update for client success on, like, all of that can happen in a fully automated way all through Claude Cowork now. So I see Claude Cowork as it's dramatically better at what it does, at least in my experience, than OpenClaw. OpenClaw's a little more Wild Westy, and I'll build stuff, and by the next day, things have broken, like API connections that were set up yesterday aren't working this morning, and you're like, why? Where things that Anthropic is building are a lot better. They're just like really strong. Currently, I'm using the hell out of both of them. I use both of them all day. So I'm telegramming my systems to do XYZ for business, for personal. I'm dumping things for every meeting into OpenClaw, and it's giving me summaries of, you know, when you're on like a string of meetings and you're like, remind me who this person is. I get this whole breakdown of every interaction I've had with them. I just was on a call and I'm like, oh, I talked to you 4 years ago, and then we met up at the Flight Club Mastermind last week. And like, I kind of know everything at this point because it has that full context.
And this is this issue with like old tech, new tech. I think the old tech being based on, is there an API or is there a connector, which is why we had things like Zapier, which was amazing and I used for everything to connect platforms together that didn't natively talk. And then, you know, we have automations, make.com and N8N, and we're building these things. And what I'm seeing happen is it's the same stuff, but now it's computer led. So you don't need an API. You don't need to make a connection, because a person, like Zapier replaced a person. If somebody submits a form, instead of getting the information and then putting it over here, I would build a Zapier integration that automated their form submission and putting it in Slack and updating it in Notion, etc. And then some things more complicated, so we needed more complicated solutions. But AI now just says, okay, I'll do that. And so it's almost like with the advancement of tech, the complexity is reduced in an interesting way, because instead of trying to jimmy these things together in this complicated system, the AI just operates a computer. And so it's almost as if I call mine Kevin, goes in, just does it for me as if I had hired him, right? Because there was a big season there, especially in the online space, of hiring virtual assistants. They're going to change your business. And there was value to that because there was an economic incentive, but it's still people to manage. And so Kevin works for nothing. I can yell at him. He's always happy. You know, ironically, when I talk more serious, he takes it more serious. But it's like de-complexified things, because it's just, I'll go to Evernote and I will click the buttons and I'll do the thing, but it happens autonomously. And there is advantages to systems where you can tell it to build it. But all you did, for everyone listening, right, is you just said, what's my outcome? And what do I think needs to happen? And you can iterate on that, or you can ask AI to tell you. And then you say, great, build it. And then it builds it. And if it can't, you make the one connection. Like you have to install Evernote, right? You have to log in. But then after that, it then operates the SOP. And so it comes back to, are you any good at identifying what the outcome is and working back from the goal, what would have to happen for that to happen? And then making sure that's built, either you or a person or whatever, so that the outcome is met. And that's really where I'm seeing things go, is those who are going to win are clear on their outcome. And they're clear on their why, because it's going to get so easy to make a bunch of random crap. I walk into my house, the speaker turns on and says, hello, sir, how are you? And then I talk to it and it makes me a coffee. Or I can just flip and walk over and press go on the coffee machine. Like, you know what I mean? It's weird. Because I obsess too. Like I'm up until midnight making things.
It's, I bought, this is a mild aside, but I bought a sauna and there's no app to control it. And it was driving me mad. I was like, how? In this day and age, could you sell a product you can't turn on remotely? And then I did a bunch of research and found these like special touch screen button controllers that connect to a Bluetooth thing across my network.
Yes.
And then I set up a freaking Ring indoor camera so that I can see if the thing's on or off. And now I can control it and it's on a schedule. And I was just horrified that someone would sell you a very high-end product without these things. And it's like some people are apparently still in the dark. And so I think for anyone listening and for ourselves and for our kids, it's starting to think of the outcomes and no longer needing to know the steps. And then this will be a moving wave over time. So I've been trying to talk my kids into making websites for local businesses, small businesses in the area, and go sell them a website that they throw together on Lovable and go make a few grand. Because I guarantee the guy at the sushi restaurant has no idea he could have a beautiful website in seconds.
You can just make the website and then say, I made you this website. Do you want to pay me $50 a month for it? And it'll send you leads and I'll manage it all for you. Like, it's crazy the opportunity that's out there for those who are not connected to what's going on. Like you said, the guy at the sushi shop, he's focused on making sushi. You know, you come up there and you're like, I made this thing for you. Do you like it? Oh my God, that's amazing. You're going to charge me $10,000. $10,000? No, I'm going to charge you peanuts because you've got it at scale. And now you have Claude Cowork going and scraping directories of businesses and making them. Get this, guys. Charles, you know what I'm talking about here. You could prompt OpenClaw or Cowork or whatever to scrape businesses, develop a business plan of which ones to go after where you think there's the biggest opportunity, see what they've got, understand their business, build the website, write the email, send them the link to the website that was made, entirely automated. It'll take some tinkering to get that to work, but you could do that and then just handle the conversation. Like, the world's getting so weird.
Exactly. And so my oldest daughter actually did make a site for the sushi restaurant. Need to give her tips to make it look better. But then she's like, okay, how do I go in and talk to them about it? And I'm like, why don't you, I of course had the answer, but I was like, why don't you ask AI when would be a good time to go talk to the restaurant owner? So she asked, and whatever tool we were using, it was like, well, don't do it at lunch rush, do it in between things. And it's like, now you have this absolute expert in your pocket that can help you strategically. But then people will need to get the reps at real life. How do you walk in and go talk to someone like that? Which
especially when kids are so jacked on technology these days. I think that's a really good segue, actually, because I want to spend the rest of our time talking about some of the stuff that you do, because I think it's going to be so valuable for people. You nailed it. We can now make things disassociated in our basement with sweatpants on, but then we have to go into real life because it still involves people. I'm focusing heavily on my children being really good at making friends, really good at building rapport and connecting with people. And my kids are going to crush, because in 10 years, where most people are going towards like AI tutors and like completely disassociating, my kids are doubling down on people. And so they're going to be in a situation where half their friends have no idea how to deal with people. And then my kids don't even have to be that good at dealing with people, but they're going to be really good coming in and just mopping up all the friends, all the girlfriends, all the business deals, all the networking, because you're going to have the people who have no idea, who don't know how to talk to people because they've been so disassociated. And then just anyone who's good at people is going to win, let alone those who've been trained to be good at people. And that's what I noticed too, is like my genius is not just making complex things simple from like a business standpoint, but being able to connect. And obviously you're very good at that as well, which is the premise of your offer and what you teach. So what are you seeing? Because when we were working together, it was pre-ChatGPT, I believe. Can you imagine? Like, I don't know how I lived. It's like saying pre-internet, you know? So pre-GPT, and it was about connecting, building relationships, creating opportunity so that things can come of things. Because people do business, people connect with people who they know, like, and trust. Like, it is who you know, because we want to work with people we know, like, and trust. So it's not an unfair advantage. It's that I don't know who you are, so therefore I can't trust you. So I'm going to work with my friend Charles because I know him. That's why people do deals together. It's not a cabal. It's friends. Like, do you let strangers into your house to eat dinner? No. But you let friends in, it's the exact same thing. So how do we penetrate the circles? How do we be connected? How do we be the friend? I think has always been important. But my question to you is, what are you noticing now as everyone's trying to go less person orientated and getting rid of people and not hiring people and being in a basement making stuff? The importance of that connection, that networking. Like, what are you seeing in that trend? Because you've been in this world pre-GPT to now.
Yeah. So relationships continue to, there's a slide I use, relationships are everything. And they really are. If you look at anything that matters in life beyond oxygen and some of the core basics, the only thing that actually matter are relationships. If you reflect on what you value in your life, from family, kids, significant others, business partners, what determines the quality of your life is the quality of your relationships. And so in our new crazy, wild world, that will become more true than ever. And I was speaking at a mastermind called DealCon in Miami that's all around acquisition for roll-ups and increased valuation and so forth. And I was hanging out with some very sharp, accomplished people. And one of our evenings of conversation, they were pointing out that communities, people that have communities, people that are good at relationship building will become more and more and more valuable as we enter this world of you can have anything by prompting it. Well, you can't make a real friend by prompting. You can use technology to help you in your follow-up process or coordinating meeting with people or things like that, which is all for it. But the relationships come from spending time, whether on Zoom, and nothing ever will beat hanging out in person, which is why, at least for me and in my model, I host 3 of my own high-end events a year, and I met like 25 others because the magic happens in the room, going to dinner, going on fun adventures together that help you really bond and get to know people. And so I think that will be more important than ever. And we can harness tools and tech to stay tighter and follow up and not let people kind of fall through the cracks, because we have better and better ways to manage those relationships. And so I think it will always be a moving target, but what's never going to change is the importance of relationships. So it makes it really AI proof, I would say. Things you're teaching your kids: how to build great relationships, how to have conversations, how to care about people, how to provide value first, all of that, which it's great in life. And it's a core part of the process I help people with in a end-to-end system for growth and scale through relationship building.
Technology makes you more effective, more efficient, but it's all there to serve the human experience. We're just going to retire early, like you will not need to make stuff. You will not need to earn the money to do things because your robot can, like a weird example, Tesla's robotaxi. People are doing projections. Like if you buy one of them and then you just reinvest the funds that you make from doing Uber, you can have a fleet of them doing like 300K a month within like 18 months. Because what's going to happen is everything's going to be subscription based. So rent the car to go and do the job. And then when it drops me off at work and then it goes and does Uber until it picks me back up again, it takes me home. So why own a car when I can get infinite Ubers because they're everywhere, which then means less drivers on the road, which means, less emissions and it's safer. And so that everything's going to start changing because of the efficiency that comes. And so what we're going to be left with, like you said, is human connection and experience. And how do we be fulfilled? And so, everyone listening, focus on mission, focus on relationships, focus on your psychology, because fulfillment's going to need to come from other places because it's going to be facilitated by AI. I always liken it to, virtual reality. Like, I don't know if you saw this NVIDIA release, I think it's like DSLSS or whatever 5, where it takes video games and just augments the video feed to be HD real life graphics. So you can take any video game or whatever, and it just immediately, you turn this on. You should look this up, Charles. It's crazy. You turn it on, it goes from like an old, pretty good looking to visually excellent by just turning it on. So no more developing character models to look more real. Instead, you just develop shitty character model and turn this on, and now it's beautiful. Where these video games like that, they did Grand Theft Auto 4, like an old GTA game, and it looked like it was in Russia, and it was like a GoPro behind the car. Like it looked real. There was aspects of it you were like, this is a video game, but it looked real. And this is just out. You imagine in 10 years, it will be indistinguishable. So what happens? Well, I can put on VR and I can be at the Eiffel Tower and it will look exactly, and I'll feel like I'm there. So what's left? Going to the fucking Eiffel Tower. Like that's all that's left. And more importantly, going with your friends, going with your family, going there and meeting people. And I think that there's going to be this sort of cultural experience where we all go and do all this VR stuff and it's all amazing, or we go and, AI, whatever. And then we get to a tipping point where we all collectively say, this sucks. And we realize the only thing that matters is people. And we immediately all just start coming offline for so much stuff. And we understand that technology is there to facilitate us having a meaningful life, not the other way around. And you will see this exodus from this virtual world and people will come into reality again. And so those of us preparing for it are going to be ready. How do you create experiences for your customers that is unique? It's not unique that you can get them a website done really fast. Someone's teenager in their basement can do that. It's how do you create an experience? How do you build trust? How do you build connection and rapport? Because you're still dealing with people. And that's what matters more now, because the other stuff gets taken care of. Like when I have a washing machine, I don't have to spend all day, churning the washing or whatever that people used to do. I just stick it in there, I press go, and then I come back to my friends and I talk to them. Have you seen the latest like Tesla Optimus robot and stuff like that?
Yeah.
You've got
Yeah,
one. A
I
miniature.
track, for anyone who didn't have their camera on, I held up a Optimus robot. So yeah, I track all of that stuff pretty closely. The latest thing I heard, which was actually probably today, that they will move and look so human-like, it will just look like a human in a superhero outfit.
Until people start selling, this is what I think, Charles, until people start selling, like the moment these robots come out, it is inevitable. I'm going to see these ads from China, Temu. It's going to be silicone skins that you can put on your robot. You know what I mean? And go get changed into your, whatever skin, Mr. Robot. It's going to get weird. Anyway, I digress.
Oh, it definitely will. When I first got this, my daughter was like, why the hell is that here? And I said, so you get used to how it looks for when the real one walks in the door.
Yeah, because Dad is buying one.
Yeah.
I got to figure out how I can get it into a suitcase. Can it come on the plane with me with a ticket? Do I need to take its legs off and put it into a suitcase? The moment, like, honestly, once he releases them to the public, my desire for travel is going to go to zero, because I'm going to want to be somewhere where I can have one, because I've been frothing over this for so long. The point of my story is I saw a video of it like turning a bolt. So it like got its finger to the nut or whatever, and it just goes and like turns the nut and like screws it on. And what I was going to say was technology changes based on need, right? So you made this touchpad thing that can press the touchpad, but that's redundant if you just have it built into the software. Well, making tools that can clean your house, like robotic vacuum cleaners, they're all going to be out of business. Having machines that can mow your lawns, out of business, because one humanoid robot can go and get the mop and clean, and can go and get the lawnmower and go and mow the lawn. So ironically, lawnmower companies are going to go up, and automatic lawnmowers might go down depending on cost and all that sort of stuff. I'm being, don't roast me in the comments. Lawnmowers go up, auto lawnmowers go down, because now it's, can my robot use the lawnmower? Because why would I buy a $10,000 robo lawnmower where I can buy a $150 one with a pull start, and my robot just does the pull start and then mows the lawns? And so as technology is progressing, in some regards, we're going to regress to simpler technologies, because the real complex thing is, how do we have essentially humans that can think and can act and be our digital slave to operate the mechanical machines? And so it's interesting to watch, because like we have a robot vacuum cleaner, and I'm thinking, this is redundant. I'm just going to give Dave, who's going to be my robot's name, I'm going to give Dave a vacuum cleaner, and he's going to go and vacuum. I'm like, whoa, this is going to be,
Yeah. My machines are Photon and Nexus. I'll tell you like a robot story. I actually just pulled up the robot. When I was a kid, I wanted a robot so bad, and my mom probably thought it was a phase, so she just didn't go for it. Then she's like, I should have got you that robot. She bought me my first computer when I was in college. She's like, well, I didn't get you the robot, but here's the computer. So I've been ready for Optimus for a long time, and it will just be a profound world where digitally, like all the stuff we've been talking about with the tools around today, and this is like the freaking doorstep of where this is going. Like all of this stuff, it's brand new, and just like ChatGPT came out 3+ years ago and normalized so fast, like imagine where these tools that are completely autonomous, and then my car drives me every damn where. Okay, this is not advice for other humans. I throw my laptop on the dash, put this in my lap, and because Teslas will bitch at you if you're not looking out the window. So I am looking out the window, and part of the window has my laptop in it, and I will crush work coming and going to the airport or driving all around the Bay Area. Like I feel like I have a time machine or travel machine, because it's like when you're a kid and you fall asleep in the back seat and you wake up and you're there. That's how I am. I'm just like crushing work in this focused state. I'm still obviously looking at the road, but I'm in autopilot. And then I look up and I'm wherever I was going. It doesn't matter if it's an hour away, hour and a half away. I've just been in the office, just like working on an airplane, and then magically you're there. So you have cars that drive you, systems that make work dramatically easier, can lower cost with overhead in the business. Then, like, actually, I did an interview today for a home manager, but in the future, like, I don't know how many this will end up being the home manager, because it will have Grok built in and have full-on conversations. And
yeah, book me. I'm thinking about going here, book me some tickets, go down the post office, send the letter. Like, it's going to be amazing. It's I think something else like that I want to get across to everyone listening. You need to be thinking about where technology is going. Stop looking at what it can do right now, because you're already behind. Like when I was building LearnSpark, it took me months, and then they upgraded everything, and I made version 2 in a tenth of the time that it took me to make version 1. I might as well have not even built version 1 and just waited until the technology got better and made version 2. And so it's now not what you can build, it's why are you doing that? And so the reason that I'm building it now is so that I can, establish the brand story, build the moat, et cetera, et cetera. But if I was smart, I just wouldn't build it, because eventually I can build it with a thought in 10 years' time. So if I'm just building it to build it, it's like you're already behind. You've got to be building it because it's getting you somewhere. It's for a reason. An example of this is all the money that's gone into building like electric cars where you can swap the battery out. Or I don't know if you remember this, but like the hydrogen fuel cell cars and stuff. Everyone was telling me it's going to kill Tesla. Everyone's told me everything's going to kill Tesla. Wait till Toyota makes electric cars. I'm like, you guys don't understand Elon. He's building infrastructure. Cars are just part of it. Cars are the vehicle, pun intended, to the robots. Like, you're not going to know Tesla as a car company. You're going to go, well, they used to make cars. It's a robot company, right? It's a whatever company. And so people are missing the point. They're focusing on the wrong thing. Where we're going is charging networks everywhere. And so now everybody rents the Tesla charging networks so they can plug their own non-Tesla car into it, because the other companies just built electric cars but didn't think about infrastructure. And so, the way that he was told, LiDAR, you're going to have radars and things in your car. And he's like, well, we don't have radars. We drive with our eyes. So why don't we just build a system that drives with your eyes? Well, guess what? That powers his robots. Like, it's next level. So you've got to think about, where are we going? Because all the money that went into swapping batteries out of cars, or like toothbrush type wireless charging of cars, stupid. Because what's going to happen? You're going to have Dave, the Optimus robot that comes out of a shed when you park up, and he's going to come over and push the button and take the thing and stick the nozzle in. Like, he's going to physically just come and charge it, or it'll be a robotic Dave that wheels out. Like, the point of the story being, it's going to be basic tech that does that, just with advanced tech controlling it. It's the lawnmower example. It's not how do I build a fancy lawnmower. It's how do I get a thing to use the lawnmower. So when you're thinking about whether it's your life, guys, or your business or whatever, where is the technology going? Where is it going to be? And build for that future. Don't build for right now, because by the time you finish building it, it's already outdated. Get this, Charles, you know this. People were making GPT wrappers that did like marketing copy. Do you remember all those softwares for making marketing? One was called Jarvis or whatever.
Yeah.
So redundant.
That company had a $2 billion valuation. It's insane.
Yeah. Do they even exist anymore? I hope they pivoted.
I believe they exist. I'd done a joint venture with one of the founders, and what was really ridiculously smart is they were using GPT before the rest of us knew about it. They just plugged in on the back end, and they seemed like effing geniuses, which in a way they were, to use that. But like, when I saw them come out with that, I'm like, how did these guys create an AI product? That doesn't even make sense, because, they're just people like you and me running around. Turns out, of course, they're just tapping into an early version of it, built the valuation of the company. I hope for their sake they sold that a while ago.
Yeah. Because I just go to Claude now and I'm like, hey, I think that's another really good example is too many people are building things, especially in like SaaS world and stuff, that will just be a normal experience of these LLMs. Like writing special things to read spreadsheets. It's like, no, Claude just makes it for you. Even like Gamma that makes the shows. I'm like, ooh, that's going to be gone real soon, because Claude already makes them, but it's just a bit clunky. So Gamma's better right now, but soon it's going to be just absorbed, because they're just these monsters that are absorbing intelligence and skills. And so you've got to really build outside that. And to circle back around, and I think this is a good place to wrap, is you've got to know people. you've got to understand the outcome. Because if you're just building things, whether it's in business or whatever, it's going to get absorbed, and it's just getting absorbed a lot faster. So there is no runway to build a dumb product that looks cool now and turns out to be dumb later, because that runway is days, weeks, and months. It's not decades like it used to be. There was room for these things 20 years ago because it took 20 years to compete. Now it's 20 days. You come out with a cool thing that's really just, it's going to get absorbed. Like even coding platforms are they've got to pivot. Lovable is dead if they don't have enough of a moat that Claude can't just take it. So it's like, what is the use case? I ask that question a lot now. I'm like, why would I use Base 44 or Lovable or Claude? Why would I do this? And then it tells me, and I'm like, oh, that seems odd, because that's going to be gone, because it's just the blob is moving and it's absorbing
all the time. And it's we're in for a wild ride, and it's actually a super fun time to be alive. I know the world's got its fair share of chaos in it, but there's its fair share of magic as well. And so leaning into the magic and what we can control, and using these tools to free us up to spend more time with the people we love and want to spend
do the
time
stuff
with.
That matters. Yeah.
Adventures, and keeping right on top of those fundamentals, because it doesn't matter how much cool stuff's out there. If you didn't get a good night's sleep, you're not going to have a good day. If you're eating like shit, you're not going to feel good. So it's harnessing the good and still keeping a great rhythm and investing in people and relationships.
And so, Charles, tell us about where people can go to find out more about you and look into what you're doing and see some of the good stuff.
Cool. Well, I have a brand new branded charlesbyrd.com, BYRD. That would give you a great overview of the deal flow system, of the flow mastermind, and just kind of a overview of how we're helping businesses scale through relationship building. We definitely leverage tech, but all in service of better relationships, better offers, better sales process, and all of that, which empowers you to serve your clients at a deeper capacity by getting them on board to let you work your magic. Yeah, James, it's been great catching up and talking about all of these cool, interesting topics. Super aligned in what we're doing and how we're thinking about it. So it's fun to bounce these things back and forth.
Very fun. Thank you so much, Charles. I appreciate you, and let's keep in touch.
All right. Sounds great. Thanks, man. See ya.
That's this week's Protocol 1. If you want to know exactly where you stand across all 6 vectors, take the free assessment at 6vectorassessment.com. It takes 5 minutes. The truth takes less. Don't settle.